Good evening. I am just a couple of bits later than, or a couple of minutes later than I wanted to be. I want to be here bang on. And then all transparency, the 5 demos, yes, 5 demos that I've got planned for this live. Just getting them all sorted, last minute, as you do. Lay them all out. And one of the demos where we're going to have a look at 3D embossing folder, I'm going, where have I got that sentiment stamp from? So I've pretty much just spent like the last 5 minutes running about trying to think, where did I get that stamp from? Why have I not just kept it all together like I have done with everything else? Anyway, I found it. That is why I am a bit later. As I say, I do like to be, when it comes to the lives within this group, I do like to be on time. And it didn't quite work out that way. Anyway, it's lovely to see all of your names popping up. And I'll go through this live just in a wee moment. So we will, as always, go through the comments, have a little look, chat away. However, this live will be pretty much, don't say that I'm freezing. Right, I'm just going to jump cameras from overhead. Let's go back. And right one, Craig. Let's just see, are we going to be okay? I don't want to be free. Oh, don't do this to me. Okay, right. I think maybe we're all right for a moment. So, this live, all about embossing folders. So what I was just about to say a minute ago is this one pretty much will be demo heavy, this live, because I want to go through the 5 that I've prepped so that we can cover the 5 main embossing folders, the 5 that I consider being main ones. One of them, actually, you might not class as a main one, but we'll talk you through that in a moment. Let's just have a little look to say hi to you all. Oh, our Rachel's popped in saying, hi, can't stay long, just wanted to say hello. Please stop freezing and glitching. I'm going out, right, I'm going to go in, jump cameras again. Bear with me a second. And let's then go back. And let's just see, hopefully that's going to kick in or two in a moment. I'm going to let it run just for a moment, just to see, hopefully it's going to stop that glitching. Hi to you too, Rachel. We've got Debbie Cantwell is in saying, hi all. We've also got Alison is saying, can't stay, waiting for my name to be called for a medical test. Just wanted to say hello. Well, I appreciate you popping in. You've got a lot more priorities on your mind at the moment, but it's really lovely to see you popping in and thinking of me. So thank you so much. That is really, really kind of you. We've got Faye saying, hi Craig. Rachel saying, it happens to us all. It's typical. I've got it all done, got it all sorted, I've got it all planned, I've got it all prepped, and I've had it all prepped for about 2 weeks because I was off last week. And then that one. Sandra's in saying, hey. Betsy's saying hello from Houston, Texas. Lynn saying hello. Rachel's saying you're okay. Lillian is saying hi, Craig. And Debbie is saying no freezing or glitching here. I'm from Louisiana. Okay, perfect. Glad to hear that. All good, I think. So, with this live, each live, every single month, I do try and theme it and involve it around something specific so that you're going to get something educational and learning from these lives. And that's not just what I want to give you, it's the whole ethos of this Gemini club. Certainly something that Sarah is so keen on having when it comes to me coming on with these lives on a monthly basis. Not just doing a demo of picking something. I do YouTube videos and I do lives on my own page that I kind of do that. Pick whatever I want and then I just come along and then I'll just make whatever I want. But when it comes to these groups, it's not necessarily myself and Sarah that will discuss what we want these to be involving. There's myself, there's a lady called Taylor, and there's a girl called Victoria on the social. So between the 3 of us, we kind of have a chat, a little discussion, just to see what's the avenue we want to go in for the next month. Maybe many of you have said, I would love to see more things on embossing folders. So then we've got together and said, well, a lot of people have requested saying they'd love to see techniques with embossing folders. So that's how we come up with the idea as to what the lives are going to be. So feel free, any ideas for future lives, pop them in the comments as well. Oh, speak of the devil. Speak of the devil, Victoria's in just saying, hi Craig. Hi Victoria. Speak of the devil. Not that she's a devil, honestly. She's absolutely lovely. She really, really is. So, any other ideas for future lives? Maybe for not the next 1 or 2, because we kind of got them sorted. But any other future ones, feel free to feed any of them through. So, embossing folders. What we're going to do is, I'm just going to go through the ones that we're going to have a look at. So the folders themselves, it's nothing specific about the folder other than the type of embossing folder it is. So what I mean by that, first one, 2D embossing folder. I've picked a Halloween one because I thought, well, we're coming to that time, aren't we? So 2D embossing folders, we're going to have a look, and we're going to be making this one here. So we're going to be having a look at that plain, simple black cardstock, but creating a little aperture within your actual card front. Then what we're going to do, and this is the one that caused me the running about to start with, we're going to be having a look at 3D embossing folder. So within the 3D embossing folder, we're going to do a letterpress technique and just show you how you can layer up onto your pattern papers. So that's what we're going to be doing. And incidentally, the stamp that I was looking for, the language of flowers, it has come from that one just there. So there we go. So that is your 3D embossing folder, and that's what we're going to be making. What we're then just going to do, I'm just going to come face on for a moment because I need to lean over and get them. We're also then going to be having a look at, you've guessed it, your cut and emboss folder. So I've picked from Bethlehem from last year. So cut and emboss folder, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make a really lovely shaker. I've picked this one because it's not overly detailed in the cut and emboss, but it's just a lovely little shaker technique. Keeping it very simple when it comes to the emboss, but just using it into an shaker feature. Then within this club here, what we're going to do is we're going to be having a look at an embossing folder with a stencil. So I've picked the one from our previous, but it is the current box actually, and that is our new baby box. So we're going to have a look at that one there, and then we're going to be doing that one, using the folder, using the stencil, but then creating kind of like a faux bleach effect. So we're going to be doing that one. And then last but by no means least, this is the one that I was meaning that some of you might not actually consider this one being an essential one within the embossing folder ranges, but we've got one that's got some nesting dies. And with that one there, what we're going to be doing is that really lovely card onto the black card, using silver gilding waxes, and then just using the dies within the middle as a little bit of a matting layer. So had a look. As I said, the folders themselves, there's no specific reason as to why I've chosen the folders other than they're 2D, 3D, cut and emboss with the stencil and with the nesting dies as well. So those are the ones that we've picked, and these are the order that I'm going to go in. So we're going to start with your 2D embossing folder, but before we progress onto the 3D, and then going to go into cut and emboss with the stencil, and then we're going to go in with the nesting dies as well. So just before we jump on, just seeing if there was any other questions or that come in. Nope, we are all good. We are all good. So I'll keep an eye on the comments. What's lovely with this group as well is because it's a small-ish intimate group as well, so that means it's a lot easier for me to keep an eye on any of the comments, any questions, and then I can get through a lot more of the demos as well, just to show you. So then what you're going to be able to do is, when it comes to the 2D embossing folder, for instance, you can start to take what I show you with the spider web, and then you can take the techniques that I show you and run that through with any of your other 2D embossing folders. Now, of course, you're not necessarily going to make that style, are you? But if you take a lovely floral 2D embossing folder, maybe Centura Pearl cardstock, you can still create the aperture, but then instead of the spider, a little flower die or a little sentiment or something like that. So you're going to be able, with so much ease, to take the idea that I've themed it on and then just transition that through into another theme if you want. It's about the construction, it's about the concept of what we're doing when it comes to the actual embossing technique. So that being said, I've got my cup of tea. If I ever do quiet, I'm strangely quiet, it's just because I'm taking a little drink. But let's dive straight in, because as I say, there's so much that I want to be showing you. So let's go in and we're going to have a look. Lovely little 4x6 card. that I've got here. And I know, of course, the camera screens doesn't show off the embossed detail justice, because I've purposely not gone in with any gilding waxes or anything like that, which I might actually do just to showcase the actual emboss when it comes to this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to bring in the folder. So the folder I'm using is from the Halloween collection last year. You can come along and use elements, of course, from this year's collection if you want to. But when I prepped this one, I didn't actually have last year's collection. So I've got my card blank here, and I'm really into top fold card blanks at the moment. So the fold is at the top, or a tent fold. So it's 4x6. Actually, it's not. It is. Just bear with me a minute. Yeah, 4.5 by 6.5. That's what it is. Hi, Evelyn. You're in from Colorado. I'm so glad that you found me too. Trisha, so glad I found you today. I'm so glad that you found me too. I was a little bit worried that I might not get live till a little bit later tonight, but I managed to get home. Been a busy day doing stuff for work. Very, very busy day. So let's go in, and the folder itself is 4x6. So I'm going to use our white multi-purpose cardstock, and we're going to bring in the guillotine. Now, I always like to cut it 1/4 of an inch smaller than my actual embossing folder. He says it's not my white I need to go for, it's my black. So because the folder is 4x6, I'm just going to check my measurements. Yeah, it was right enough. I'm going to cut it to 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then that just means it's slightly smaller than the folder itself. However, the full image is captured right across the cardstock. What it'll also do is it'll eliminate any of the buckling layers of your card. Now what I mean by that is if you put your cardstock in that sticks out the edges, that's when it can start to buckle and it can start to bend and it can start to tear. So to eliminate that, actually cut the cardstock to the size that you want and then run it through your emboss folder. So with this one as well, with it being all about the embossing folders, this is when I'm going to talk you through the different layers. So when it comes to your 2D embossing folder, we will say 2 cutting plates. And that's what predominantly you are going to use. But I do like to add in my metal shim. It just gives that embossed detail that little bit more enhancement. It's not essential, but it just gives all that detail that little bit extra push. So popping it onto my cardstock with my metal shim, and the metal shim can be on the top or the bottom. It's completely irrelevant because whichever way you look at it, it's going to be the same no matter which way you flip it. So all that we're going to do then when it comes to that, I'm using the G2 of course, so we're just going to feed that in and let that do its thing. As it comes out the other end, what will happen is it'll have embossed all of that detail, and then what we're then going to have is a beautifully embossed piece of black cardstock. Now for this one, as I said, with my original one, I've not used any form of medium over the top, but for this live I am going to, so that you can see it better. So I'm going to go in with my silver gilding flakes, felt flakes, gilding wax, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this on a piece of our non-stick craft mat. The only reason I'm doing that is just so it's a lot easier to clean up, because I can lift and move it out the way and I don't have to waste time during the live by cleaning it up. So all that I'm going to do is I'm just going to get as much as I can off of my finger, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my finger level, and then I'm just going to roll in circular motions onto that embossed detail for it to be picked up. Now do little and often, because certainly with gilding wax you can you can add on, but you can't take off. So by keeping your finger nice and flat, what we're then going to do is we're just now going to enhance that. So there we go, I can add it on, but if I've got too much, I can't take it off. So we're just going to work our way around, and we're just going to start to build that up. And you've still got the ability, hiya Kendall, you've still got the ability to add some darker shades in some areas, maybe within the centre. Maybe you want to go into your second centre. Maybe you just want to come around the edges. You can absolutely do that. So that's it. I'm just done kind of like 1/2 at the moment. But that is certainly with the spider web. And that's a sort of effect, not the spider web effect, of course, but with the gilding wax effect that you're going to get with any 2D embossed design. So any of your 2D embossing folders, they're going to be going through the same plate configuration I just talked you through. That is your 2 cutting plates. And should you wish to add in your metal shim, just to enhance that emboss that little bit more, then by all means, please feel free to do so. I certainly do it. I do it most of the time. I think it just enhances that emboss just beautifully. And then therefore, what we've then got is this gorgeous, gorgeous design. And then what I've just a second realised now, and I'm not overly bothered because what I will do is I'll emboss another layer. But if I bring this one in, I'm wanting to create a circular aperture. Now, of course, I could just die cut a white circle and then stick it on the top. But I actually want to show you how you create an aperture in the embossed layer. Now, the key thing to do that, you need to cut your die cut circle before you emboss your cardstock. And as you can see, I've got that excited and I've already embossed my cardstock before I've done my aperture. So I'm not bothered because what I'm going to do is, this is a nice little detour where it's actually showing you how you can use the waxes on your embossed detail that you can see here. How fab is that? Works really well, certainly with the black, with the spider web and that silver. So you've still got the choice, as I've said before, if you want to go a little bit heavier in corners and then start to blend that out. Maybe we'll come into the other corner and then just start to blend that out. Then of course you can do. So we're just going to work that up just that little bit more. And then we're just going to blend that out. So it is very, very forgiving when it comes to the blendability that you've got there by rubbing it and rolling it with your finger. So that is how you're going to emboss it, going in with your gilding wax. So let's go back. Let me just I'm just going to duck down and get another bit of black cardstock. And we're going to emboss it again, but I'm going to cut my apertures first. So we're going to go in with our circular dies. Let me just take that excess wax off my hand here. So I'm going to go in with our original stitched edge nesting dies. So if I bring these ones in, if I can find them, here we go. I've got them just here. So if you want to create an aperture within the card, it is key that you do the cut first. Because if I go and run that through now with my dies, the plate configuration is going to squash a lot of that embossed detail, which I don't want. So it's always key to do the embossing after you've done the cutting. So what we can then do is let's show you that. So let's go back once again and let's cut that to 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. So then we're going to go in with our chosen die. So as I say, I'm using my circular dies that we've got just here. So we're going to go in with that one and that one. If you're using this set, it is 1 2 3 4. So it's 5 and 6 from the center. So it's 5 and 6. So it is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So it's actually die 6 and die 7. That's what I'm using from the stitched edge nesting dies. So what we can then do, we're going to come along and we're going to use the smallest of the two dies. And the key reason for this is I've got a little bit of purple cardstock here, and I want to create a purple frame that we can see just around the edge there. If I use the largest die, you can see here, then once I come along and die cut a framed ring, there's nowhere to stick it on because the actual circumference of the circle is exactly the same. So what I mean by that is, let's go in with the smaller die first and let's cut it out first. So let's go in with our tape. Now I'm trying to use up lots of washi tape that I've got, so I'm using it as a replacement to my low tack tape. So we're just going to pop that one in, and then we're going to come in with our Gemini plates here. So let's line them up. So base plate, frosted, magnetic, and then top plate. What we can then do is then we're just going to feed that one through. So then that's done the cut. So the cut's all good, that you can then come along afterwards and then do the emboss, which we will do. So let's come back in, and then we'll show you how we've now got our circular frame. So I'm going to set that out the way for now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that die again and the larger out, the two dies. I'm going to then line these both up together so I can create that frame. So if I then stick them together and tape them securely. And what I'm also going to do at this moment in time, let's go in with a couple of the dies that came in from last year's Halloween collection. So I want the spider and I want the boo. So we can do all of that at the same time, and then we can then run this one through. I didn't want to just come along and emboss cardstock. You know, I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to do 5 full demos within each of the folders. So same plate configuration. So what we can then do is go back to our Gemini and then run that one through once again. So that's then going to go through. And then, excuse me, my tea's gone down the wrong way. So if I take these ones out, and then I take that frame, because I've used that circle die, that means now that that frame die is going to fit perfectly over the top, and I've got somewhere to stick it. If I use the outer die for that circle aperture, that's just going to fall through. So always use the smaller one. So that's that one. That can go out the way. And then while I'm here, so there's the spider, there's the B, the O, and then there's the other O. So just while we're here, what we can do is let's do that again into the black card, and then that will be the black card and all the elements cut. Because the other thing that I wanted to do with some of these ones as well, I didn't want to have the mats pre-cut. I wanted to do that in front of your eyes as well, and that's exactly what I'm going to do within this one. Gosh, there we go. Keep hitting the wrong button. So if we bring these, that'll be all the die cutting done. So I can move that out the way, move that out the way, bring in my poke tool, pop them out, and then them out, and then pop that one out. So there's there, and in actual fact, it was, I needed another little bit of white cardstock because the boo I wanted in purple and white. So what we can do is let's do best of both worlds. Let's bring in our mini for anyone that's got the mini. If not, then just run your boo through your Gemini 2. And then we can then start to finish this card. So let's take them out, that out, and then that out, and then we can pack all that away just shortly. So now that I've cut my layer, what we can then do is come along and then we can then emboss it. So do your die cutting, come along, line up, and then run it through. So this is going to eliminate you squashing any of your pre-embossed design. So for these ones, same as before, we're just going to go along. 2 cutting plates, and I like to add in the metal shim. Bring that one out. What we can then do is then, this one I'm not going to add the wax to it, because you've seen what it looks like with the wax on. So I'm going to keep it all natural like I had been doing previously. So that's it with the wax. That's it without the wax, but we've got our lovely, our little aperture within the middle. So let's come in with our framework now. So I'm just going to go in with my tacky glue, and let's just see if I can get this going. For anyone watching in the UK, you will understand how absolutely flippin' roasting it's been today. Honestly, it's been like an actual summer's day on like the 5th of September. It's been crazy. And as much as I love the sun, I love the heat, the hotter the better for me, but I also love the autumn time. I was getting all ready for big thick jumpers, autumn Yankee candles, cozy films, and then we're just hit with this heat wave. So I'm trying to appreciate it while it's here. So just going in with my tacky glue, and then, oh, it's just moved over. Let's just go in. You will just need to hold it down just a few seconds longer than usual, and that's only because you need to keep in mind it's not a flat surface. You've got that raised detail. So you just need to let that grab for a little bit longer. So what we can then do, that should be fine, which it is. So if I bring that in, we've now got our layer. That's to say, you can just need to trust me, that's lovely, beautifully embossed. So what we can then do is let's do our matching layer. So this is where I was saying that I didn't want to do the layers on every project. I wanted to do them in front of your eyes. So you can then, I can talk you through how I do my layers, because it's always been a question that I get asked. So I always use my guillotine, and I always do 1/4 of an inch increments most of the time. So for this one, we're going to go in with our white multi-purpose, and I'm going to come up 1/4 of an inch to 4 inches by 6 inches. So that's then going to give me my lovely white matting layer, and in actual fact, that's a bit ski-wet, that's it. And what it also does is it gives me my white platform, because we're going to lift this black layer up on foam pads. And then we're going to come in with a piece of purple, which is then going to be 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. That's then going to give me that layer. But I want my purple layer to be just a little bit thinner. So if I want a thin matting layer, I'll still cut to 1/4 of an inch, but then what I am just going to do is just trim off a couple of millimeters at a time. So even if I want a really fine matting layer, I'll still always cut to 1/4 of an inch bigger, but then I'll trim afterwards. So then that gives me my layers there, and then we can see how that's starting to come together. And I have to be honest, it's really frustrating me that you can't see that design. So I think what I'm going to do, when there is a will, there's a way. So let's deviate ever so slightly. So let's go back down there. So what I'm going to do is let's take this layer and let's cut, because I'm going to show you a little cheat way. let's just say you've done what I've done, you don't have another bit of black cardstock, you need to use what you've already done. So let's cut another frame here. So we're just going to cut another frame. What I'll do is I'll pop that on, and then we're going to use the emboss layer with the gilding wax. So let's go back in with my circle, take that out. No one's going to be on the wiser that we've cut it from the back. We're going to take this one, and then we're going to take the frame. So let's go in with our glue, and then I'm going to add my glue to the back, and then we're going to pop it where we want it to be. So let's hold that down. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit closer for you so that we can see the direction that I'm going in. I'm just going to hold that to grab because it's neat to grab on the gilding wax as well. Sam McDonald saying it's been roasting. It's supposed to be the same tomorrow. Hoping I will manage to sleep at work on my night shift. Oh, fingers crossed for you, Sam. Evelyn, your layers are always perfect. Mine seem to move at the last second. It's just taking advantage of that finger guard. Hold down nice and securely. So now, hopefully that's got enough grip. So let's go in with a craft knife, and then let's just gut the centre of this out. So I always tend to use a craft knife just to gut that centre out. Still not, do you know something? I think this must be about the third live that I've said I need to change my blade, and I've still not done it. So it's just enough for me to get my scissors in. So what I'm then going to do is I'm then just going to follow around that frame. Now if you're just joining, the reason I'm doing it this way is if I pop my die over the top now, what would happen is running it through the Gemini, the pressure of the Gemini will flatten some, if not a lot, of that embossed detail, and that's what I don't want. So what we can then do is just work that around. So if you did do a little mistake like I done and embossed it first, there is still a way around that by then popping the frame on and then cut out that aperture. That now makes it look so much better that it's more visual for you to see. So let's go in and let's use my glue to stick down. If you know me by now, you will know that when I've got the time, I do like to use my double-sided tape, and I might end up using it throughout this live, but for now let's just start to get these layers together. So we're going to mat and layer, and then let's just line that up and hold that down, press that in, and then I tell you what, I'm just going to go in with my tape because it's my preferred medium. So just using my tissue tape, you can use whichever glue you prefer. So I'm just going to go in with my tape. So these main two layers at the bottom I'm keeping flat, and then what I want to do is in that circle aperture frame, we're going to lift that on foam pads. So let's bring in my card blank, let's zoom out a little bit more for you to see, and then we're going to line that one up. Let's just take that little bit that's stuck to my tape. Let's just poke that under. There we go. So there's our initial matting layer. We're going to go in with my foam pads. I need to get some more. Forgot, because which most of you are aware, I use both, not just our adhesives, but I use an adhesive company that's just down the road in Newcastle, and that's the ones that I've got here. So I'm just going to use them because I've got them to hand. But if you are relatively new to us and you're thinking, Craig, that's not Crafter's Companion foam pads, that is why I use both of them. So let's just lift that up. I'm going to come along and chop them up and start to then level it out. We're not doing a shaker or anything like that, so it doesn't have to be connected when it comes to the actual foam pad layers. We just need to have enough to create that lift. So let's also take all of these off and pop it into position. And then by popping that one on, that's then going to give us perfect look with the little aperture within the middle. And then we can come along with our spiders. So I'm going to go in with the purple on the top, and then I'm going to come along with the black underneath as the drop shadow. So a little bit of the tacky glue, and then let's just come in a bit close on this one. So drop shadow, I kind of like to hover right over the top and I pull down slightly to the bottom right hand corner. And then with using tacky glue, it means we can then just move that, slide that into position, which then gives me my little drop shadows. You can see just here. And then for that one, let's go in with our smaller foam pads, which I've got plenty of hours for that. I'm going to add that onto a foam pad. And just while I hold that down just for a second, let me zoom out. It's a little bit close for you. Let's take that one off. That one, let's just pop a little angle in the middle. And then let's take the B, the O, and the O. And for this one, I'm going to do a drop shadow again, but because these are really quite small and delicate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to pop them all on individually. What I mean by that is I'll do the drop shadow on the card. So let's pop the B, because the white's going to be the drop shadow, and then we're going to come along and then we're going to pop the purple over the top. But because they're quite small, as much as I'm quite comfortable and confident, actually that's a smaller O, so that needs to go a little bit further. I suppose not that would really matter for anything that's Halloween themed. Although I'm quite comfortable doing a drop shadow this small, I'm aware that it might be a little bit fiddly. So therefore, let's come along and do it separately. So there's all of that. So then we're then going to go in with the B, and then we can then pop our glue, and then we can then come into place with the B on the top of the white and creating a little drop shadow. What we can see here, let me just move that in ever so slightly, press that in. You can just see that little drop shadow just peeping through. We're going to do the same with the O. Pop that into place. And of course, drop shadows are always optional, but I do think it gives it a really lovely look. And then last but by no means least, we're just going to come along with the final one and pop that one into place, and then move that one, and then there we go. There's our first one done. You can come along, add a few additional little bits and pieces if you want to, but that is a card where we've gone through the layers of the 2D embossing folder with the metal shim if you want. And then in actual fact, because I ended up embossing before cutting, I've even shown you an extra little tip that I hadn't planned on, and that is then how to create an aperture once you've already embossed a layer. If you do it first, there's a chance it'll flatten. I can keep that for another time, but then there we go. So what was my original one that I was going to show you, which to me looks lovely because I can see all of that pure black emboss, but it's a little bit harder on screen for you to see. But by going along, and then keeping in mind, if you don't want to do the actual aperture, what you could just do is your largest die, cut that in white, then the next one, cut in purple, cut in white, and then stick it on the top. So if you don't want to then come along and create an actual die cut aperture in your emboss layer, you don't have to, but it's just a nice little take, because then, I'm not sure if you could quite see, but because we've got two heights here, the layer of emboss is on one level, it dips in, and then the spider is then raised up. So it's a nice little additional layer to your card. So that's that one there. So what we'll just do is let's give myself a quick second to tidy up, because I think it's really key if the other lives are anything to go by. I get myself in a right state, as in untidy state. And I don't mind tidying up after I finish the lives. It's just during the lives, me trying to find bits and pieces. So I think I don't need to pack stuff away. I can do all that later, but if I at least keep everything with its packaging. Because again, I am one for keeping packaging. Everything in it's a packaging. I'm not one for our storage folders. You know, our storage folders are great and they serve a purpose. There is a purpose to them. It's just for me, I am someone, I like to keep all my dies, everything in its original packaging. Because then I know if I ever need to come along and have a name for it, I know I've still got the packaging. So that's why I like to keep mine. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Jessica. I love this Halloween card. Betsy, love that card. Thank you very much. There you go. Lovely. Well, what was 4.5 by 6.5. But you could easily trim that down a little bit more if you wanted to, and then that could fit onto a 4x6 card. So that's a lovely little smaller one. So that's 2D embossing folder. So what we can then do is, let's go on to a 3D embossing folder. So 3D embossing folder I've used, you can tell I'm getting ready for autumn, can't you? Let's go in with the Vintage Rose collection. And with this one we're going to do a letterpress technique. Let me move that out the way. I'm going to give you a real tease here. Have you... Well, I'm not going to show you because it's going to give it away. Behind here is some prep that I've already been doing for this year's Advent Calendar videos. So if you've got your Advent Calendar or you're thinking about getting it, I've already started on prep for the videos that I'm going to be doing. So that's a real that's an exclusive tease for you guys in this group. Right. Vintage Rose 3D embossing folder. And if I remember off the top of my head, it was fuchsia that we used. So for this one, 3D embossing folder. 2D embossing folder is just one level of emboss. Looks beautiful, but it's one level. 3D embossing folder is one that's got multiple layers. You know, it could be 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers. Some could even have up to 5 different depths of layers when it comes to the embossed detail. So for this one, it gives you that lot more... It gives you a lot more flexibility in the cardstock. It gives you a lot more tactile, touchable, I like to say, when it comes to the designs, because you've got lots of different surfaces to run your hands over. Now you can still come along and do things. You can cut your apertures if you want. Certainly do that before your 3D embossed layer. But what you can then do as well is just do something such as a letterpress technique. And I know this is one, certainly as of late, that I've seen many people wanting a recap on. So if you're in this group, like you are in, is you're you're going to get this little heads up. Incidentally as well, the letterpress technique that I'm away to do now, you can do this in any folder. You can do it in absolutely any folder. It doesn't just have to be 3D. You can do the letterpress technique with any of them. Lena got my advent calendar today. Excellent. Carol is saying December would not be the same without the daily videos and advent lives. Thank you for making the time. You're more than welcome. And as much as I love doing, or like last year and the previous years, I love doing as many of the lives as I could for that advent calendar, I am restricted. You know, I am restricted big time with time to make it, time to do the lives, because obviously it's every single day. All that I'm going to say, Carol, is because I'm going to film the education for the advent calendar, and I'm doing it here in my craft room, so you get that intimate feel still. I've got no, I've got no restraints, so I can be really quite, I'm not going to say anymore, I'm just going to say there's a big benefit to me doing them in videos, but I may just pop up occasionally throughout December with a live for the advent calendar. That being said, that is the calendar. Let's dive in with this one. And in actual fact, you do get some folders in the advent calendar this year, so you can start to do little bits and pieces that I'm showing you. Right, letterpress technique, fab, incredible look. I love the sketchy look that you get depending on how you apply your ink pad. First things first, letterpress technique, depending on what colour of ink pad you use, even though I'm going to use a water reactive one, a water-based, depending on the colour, it can stain your folder. If it does do that, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to affect any future embossing. This colour isn't then going to transfer onto future embossing. As long as you've given it a really good wipe clean, it's not going to affect it in future. And you can do it with quick dry. I prefer doing it with water reactive because it's water based. Got a lot more fluidity to it. So what we're going to do to start with, I am using many of the elements from the actual Vintage Rose collection. But let's go in with our cardstock here. And I'm going to go in with my white multi-purpose card. And like before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down. So it's 5 by 7, so I'm going to trim it down to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then, well, I'm actually still going to trim it afterwards even more, but I just want to trim it to the folder size. And then for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a feel. So this has got all of the indentation design. So it's nice and smooth on the plastic, and then the design, it indents inwards. On this side, it's nice and smooth, but then you've got all of the detail that's standing proud. So I'm going to go back in to the smooth side with the detail that goes inwards. And then I'm going to go in with my fuchsia. Now you can use a blending tool if you want to. You can use a brayer if you want to. But I like to just go in with the actual ink pad. And then I just go in circular motions. So I'm keeping the ink pad flat so that it just stays on the plastic. And then it's just been picked up in little bits of the raised areas. So I'm just going to keep going back and forwards. And depending how you apply this, you're going to get different either streak marks or you're going to get colour marks, depending if you're going left to right, round to round. Either way, I think it just looks phenomenal. So that's all that I'm going to do, is I've got a nice layer, and all of that design that has not been picked up with the ink, that is because it's then, of course, it's indented inwards. So what I like to do is I like to put my card on the opposite side first to line it up. Don't worry about any excess ink on the other side of the folder because you're not going to see it. What we're then going to do is we're going to then just come along and then we're just going to carefully close it. And I'm doing that really carefully so I don't move the cardstock. So your 3D embossing folder is your base cutting plate. It's then your magnetic shim, and then it's your frosted shim. So what we can then do is then feed that in. Now you're going to then get that beautiful embossed detail, but with the pressure of the Gemini or any die cutting machine, because you can do all these techniques with other branded machines, not just the Gemini. But of course you know that you've got unrivaled pressure with the Gemini. What that's then going to do, so if I turn it the other way to start with, that is the deboss side, which still looks lovely. Deboss looks really, really lovely. But if I then come along and then flip that around, we've then got all of that detail is beautiful. It's really tall and it's really three-dimensional with all the lots of different layers. But then you've got your ink that's just stayed onto all of the flat parts of the folder. And this is what I mean by, because of the direction that I went in, you know, I've got some roundness down at the bottom, roundness at the side here, straight on at the top there, left to right. So you're going to get a different look each time. I love letterpress techniques, and you know, the more ink that you use, the stronger it'll be. The less the ink, of course, then the more subtle in design it's going to be. I'm just going to go in with a wipe and then clean this off. Fuchsia is absolutely one of those colours that does sometimes stain your folders or your stencils, certainly when it is a quick dry. So don't worry, as long as you've given it a really good clean with a wipe or warm water, and then you've taken off all of the excess liquid, all of the excess colour. If it has stained, then it's not going to affect any future embossing. So that's how you can quick and simply clean it. And then what we're going to do is we're then just going to come back in now. And then what I could do, actually, shall I derail ever so slightly to my original plan again? Yeah, let's do that. Because what you can do is your water reactive, they stay open longer. So that just means that the surface, the ink, stays wet longer, stays sticky. So what that then means is any of your embossing powder is going to stick to it. So let's do that. Let's bring in a scrap bit of paper or copier paper, and then let's start to pour this over the top, because all of this clear embossing powder is then just going to stick to the fuchsia ink. Of course, you can do this with your pigment ink pads if you want to, duet ink pads if you want to, but then we're just going to go over, and then I'm just making sure, yep, making sure that it has all stuck. Now, of course, to the naked eye, certainly with fuchsia, it doesn't really look like there's anything there. But then what will happen, let's bring in our heat gun. So this step here with the embossing powder, this is a step that I haven't done on my original demonstration. But I thought, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm going to start in this corner, and then I'm going to go left to right, left to right. Now for my eye, you might not see it on, well, probably won't see it on your screen, but on my eyes, I can see this melting. So all that I'm then going to come along and do is, as it melts in front of my eyes, I'm just going to move my heat gun. So I'm going to move my heat gun as the powder melts, and then the powder will have gone into all of these fine little nooks and crannies. And then, as I say, it is key that as soon as it melts, we're just moving it out the way. Once it starts to melt, it's really, really quick in travelling. So we're just then going to move that along, work it side to side, and then we're kind of going to get like a glossy effect. So we're just going to then work that in. And then I'm just going to give that a nice little sway back and forwards just to make sure that I've not missed any bits. Back and forwards. And then that should be, oh, love it. I don't know if it's picking up. Oh, we can just see, you can kind of pick up that sheen, certainly within this bottom corner anyway. So you're able to do that when it comes to your water reactive. So what I'm then going to do is I want to make that slightly slimmer. So I'm going to come along and I'm going to cut as close up to this first edge here. I'm just going to come in just a little bit more. And then I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to do the same with this leaf here. So I'm going to come as close as I can up to there. Maybe just a tiny little bit more. Just so that I've got a bit more of a longer design. I'm just going to match it up to my original. So the height of it's absolutely fine. I'm just going to trim it out so slightly. So then there we go. So we've got our beautiful floral emboss. Now remember, you know, the actual choice of the embossing folder, the only thing I wanted to make sure was it's 3D. Other than that, there's no specific reason I chose this one. So you can do this with any 3D embossing folder. Or as I said at the start, you can do letterpress technique with any folder that you've got. It's a nice little fun technique. And then if you do incorporate your actual embossing powders, then that's a little bit of a bonus. So let's take all of these bits out of the way. Let me pop my ink pad just to its position, and then I'm going to come in and we can start to assemble this one. So for this one, I want a really, really fine black matting layer. So I'm just going to make sure that my black cardstock is straight. So just cut to the sides just to make sure I've got a perfect 90-degree angle. And that is just over 4 inches. So I'm going to come down 4 1/4 to start with. And then that is just over 6 1/2. So I'm going to come to 6 3/4 to start with. And I just need to trim a little bit off here, like so, and then I'm just going to trim a actually, do I want a tiny bit, or is that tiny enough, that little layer? I just need to come in just a tiny little bit into here. Yep, that'll do. Just a tiny slither of a slither off the top, and that's going to give me a really nice, very fine black matting layer that's going to complement my back design. So what I'm then going to do is move that out the way for now. Let's come in with 2 of these layers. So the pattern paper's from Vintage Rose, and I've cut it 5 by 7 1/2, because this card blank is going to be, let me move out, this card blank, top fold again, it's going to be 5 1/2 by 8 inches. So I would come along afterwards and use my envelope maker to create an envelope. So let me use my tape. So that I'm going to mat and layer onto a piece of black cardstock that I've already cut to size as well. So that can then go into place. I need to keep remembering to move my cardstock further up. So the way that my positioning of my camera above is, because usually I craft quite close to myself, as you would do, but of course I keep cutting you off, so I have to keep remembering to push up. So that's those 2 layers that will stick together in a minute. This one, our embossed design, I'm going to stick on with double-sided tape, and then the black we're going to lift on foam pads. So let's bring my pokey tool in, And then we're going to take these off. And then I'm just going to line that up into place here. There's that one. That one can then go to the side here. What I'm then going to do is then take, when I try to do a silver, I'm presuming that must be slither, on my guillotine it doesn't cut and the end of the card just bends. That is a new one to me, Lynn. Try, if you've got tin foil or aluminium foil, try cutting a number of sheets of that, just to, your blade shouldn't need sharpened because it's a self-sharpening guillotine because it's come from a sword manufacturer. But try cutting through some of your tin foil or aluminium foil, depending where in the world you're from, to give it a little helping aid when it comes to the blade. Because I can't say that I've ever come across that one before. There's always a first, always a first. So give that a shot, Lynn, see if that'll help. Alright, let's come along with our foam pads now. Got me thinking now, Lynn. I'm trying to think of what else it could be, if anything. But yeah, give that a shot. Give that a shot and see. I know, maybe just fold up 4 or 5 layers tin foil. And then just cut through, keep cutting through a good number of times. And give it a shot. If you're still no luck, give one of us on the team a shout again. We'll do what we can to help. So there's that one now onto our background. And then what we can then do is, let me just pop this one back in for now. Let's go in with a little slither. Hi Craig, is the tape you are using as strong as red liner tape? So no, this is just tissue tape. So this is just standard double-sided tissue tape. So that's never going to be as strong as red liner tape. You can't get any stronger than red liner tape. In saying that, tissue tape is still very, very, very strong. It's just not as strong as your red liner tape. So hopefully that helps. Let's go in now with the stamp set. So this is the one that was causing me trouble right before the live because I couldn't remember where I got my stamp from. And what I am going to use, I know it's nice and small and delicate, but I'm still going to come along and use my stamping platform. And I'm going to come and attach that on. But I'm actually wanting to stamp towards this right hand side. So let's go in with a language of flowers. So I think it's a really lovely, beautiful, delicate little sentiment. Language of flowers. And then what I'm going to do is then pick that up. I'm just going to use our alcohol proof Noir ink pad. And then bring that in. Lightly press. And we've got language of flowers. So let me just bring that in so we can kind of just see that there. And then I can pop that one back. So I'll tell you the size of that one just in a second. But I'm not going to do any mats and layers for that one, which is surprising for me, I know. But I'm going to do something a little bit more delicate and nicer. And that's going to be a little bit of vellum. So that size of that one was 1/2 inch by 4. So it was 1/2 inch by 4 inches. And then I've got a little strip of vellum, which is 1 inch by 4.5 inches. So let's bring this one back in. And then what I'm going to do to start with is I want another little bit of extra height. But of course I don't want the foam pads to be seen onto my vellum. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stick that one on. In actual fact, I'll need to trim this anyway. So let's just press that in. So my cardstock, that's the actual size that I want. So let's just come and trim. And then trim. And then what we can then do is that's going to go nicely along the strip there. So then we're going to come along and let's take some more foam pads. Again, the height of anything like this is always optional, depending on how you're going to be then giving or sending. I know I say this quite often, but I know maybe some of you have never heard this before and they'll ask about, you know, because I do put a lot of height on my cards. When I give a special card, 9 times out of 10, if they're getting a special card, it means they're getting a present. So if I'm sending it, then the card and the present will then go into a box and then I'll send it to the recipient. If not, I hand deliver the card. And never ever do I ever send just a card on its own. So therefore, if I'm popping it into a box with a present or I'm hand delivering it, it means I don't need to worry about the actual size or the bulk or the weight of the card itself. And then I've got 2 butterflies that I've cut from, I think it was the Timeless butterflies. One in white, one in black. Just doing a drop shadow. Hold that into place. Bend the wings up. Pop a little bit on the back just there. And then I'm just going to press that into place. And hold that in. And then there we go. We've now got a 3D emboss. So that's the one that I'd already done. A little bit lighter in the corner. But we can see within that one there, we've done our letterpress technique with the fuchsia ink pad and the 3D embossing folder, little sentiment, cardstock vellum, and then a few mats and layers as well. And that cardstock was 5.5 by 8 inches. So 5.5 by 8 inches in height. And then there's a letterpress technique with your 3D embossing folders. So that's that one. So we've now covered 2D embossing folder, and in actual fact, let me just keep them all ready to re-show you right at the end. So yeah, so we've covered 2D and then we've covered 3D. So let's dive straight on, and I think I said I was going to do cut and emboss. Not really matters, but I'm going to do them anyway. So let's do the cut and emboss folder. I can't believe the time. I'm going to stay live until I've done all 5 of them. So I will not be offended if you can't tune in for the whole live, but then dot back afterwards and rewatch it, because you'll be able to keep rewatching it. It'll stay in this group's Facebook onto the Facebook page, but of course as time goes on it goes further down, but you will find it up in whatever thing they call it at the top of Facebook. You'll find it there. So let's go along and let's do this shaker card, because this is really quite a simple, straightforward card for this one. So we're going to use one from the Nativity, and that, by the way, that was just my cup that made a noise. Don't want anyone thinking there was any trumps going on here, although it's stone cold now. So 2D embossing folder with your cutting elements in it. So this one we're using is from the Bethlehem collection, and what we're then just going to do is, and in actual fact I am going to, bear with me a second while I go and grab another drink. I never thought of that, did I? I'll just be right back. I need to make like one of those little slates that says, back in 1 minute, getting a drink. I was actually about to grab a Coke, and then I thought, no, I'll probably not sleep if I get a Coke. So embossing folders tend to be 2D, cut and emboss folders. This one's from the Bethlehem collection. So we've got the actual card here. So this is what we're going to make. So let me just get all my little bits and pieces out, ready to go. And I've got my sentiment stamp as well. Got all my bits for this one, and I've got a little bit of acetate too. So what we can then do is bring in my guillotine. Now for this one, I'm kind of going to go against what I've been saying, because this one actually gives you a really lovely frame emboss all the way round. So I'm not really bothered about my cardstock being 1/4 of an inch smaller than the folder. What I'm going to do afterwards is follow that embossed line. So I'm going to go in with some of this gorgeous gold, like a regal gold pearlescent card, and then we're just going to sandwich it through. Now, even although this is a cut and emboss folder, it's still the same plate configuration as a 2D embossing folder. So I'm going to go in with my 2, and I'm still going to add in my metal shim. So even although there's a die in there, I'm still going to add in my metal shim. So I'm going to go base cutting plate, folder and card, and then top plate. So that's then going to be ready to go through. So that's going to cut, and then it's going to emboss. So as we take that one out, and then open that up, what we're then going to have, the gorgeous, gorgeous design. So if I lift that up for you to see, and you've got the stars and the Star of Wonder that's die cut out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep some of these little stars. So let's just pop all these out for a little bit extra decoration. And same with the Star of Wonder. I'm going to use the Star of Wonder, but I want an extra Star of Wonder. So what I'm going to do is let's take, have I got a bit of cardstock? Is that going to be big enough? No. I need to go in, here we go, this will do. So I just actually want the Star of Wonder die cut. I don't want this full design. So what I'm just going to do is a little bit of black cardstock, follow that one through. I'm not going to add in the metal shim for this one, because I'm not actually wanting the embossed detail. All that I'm wanting is that Star of Wonder to be die cut into the black. So that's all that I'm wanting. So we'll bring that one into play, open that one, and then we're just going to take the little black Star of Wonder. So that's all that I need, and that's all that I want. I don't want any more. So therefore that means then we can pop that folder away for now. Well, we can put it away, I'm done with it. And then we can come and cut this. So this one here comes with all my Gemini, let me just go in just while we read this one. All my Gemini cut and emboss frame folders have come away. The metal die part only used 5 times. Will they super glue? I've seen someone just use red liner tape. What I'm wondering, Dan, is when you say all of your Gemini cut and emboss frames. So I'm wondering why all of them. That one stumped me. When you say all of them, is it like maybe 1 or 2, or is it 10 or 20 of them? Yes, you can do, you know, something like a red liner tape, or that thin red liner tape, something like that, as long as you hold it into place. You just don't want it to be anything thick, because you don't want the die, the thickness of the die in the plastic, to then counterbalance against the embossed detail. But when you say all of them, Danny, let me know what you mean by all of them, because then that might be a case for customer service as to if they come from one batch or one order. So let me know on that one, if you can do, and then potentially need to pass it on to the team. But what we can then do in the meantime is let's go back in, and where we've got this gorgeous frame all the way around, what I'm going to do is I'm just eyeballing it at the side here, and I'm going to cut. So that's cutting there, and then following through. So I'm just doing as close to the line as possible to start with, and then little slithers. Work our way into the top one, and then we've got our embossed design. Now we've got that framework all the way around. It just neatens it up and it pulls it out, which just is beautiful. That then comes to 3 3/4 by just over 6.5. So let's bring in a piece of white. So let's do 1/4 of an inch, so just after 6.5 inches. So I'm going to cut that to just after 6 3/4, and then that is, as I said, 4 3/4. So let's cut that to 5. That's then going to give me my white matting layer, plus we start to see that white come through. And then you've guessed it, I want a black matting layer, but I want a fine one. So that's 5. So I'm going to cut that. Cardstock's not even straight. So that is 5. So let's cut that to 5 1/4. And that is just after 6 3/4. So let's do just after 7. That then gives me that beautiful matting layer, black matting layer. I keep saying beautiful for the mats and layers. I don't know if a matting layer can be beautiful, but we'll go with it. And then trim until I've got a little bit, maybe a little bit too snug. Let me just trim 1 millimetre off of that. Let me just make sure that still all aligns, which it does. And let me make sure that this all aligns, which it does. I just need to do a little bit here. And then that should be that, which will do for now. So then what we're going to do, I'm going to start using my glue for this, just to speed up just a little bit. So I'm going to go in with my main mats and layers to start with, the white onto the black, and then position that one in, and then we're going to line that up. I'm going to have to, I don't know if it's my cardstock or if it's my eyes at this time of the night. Just a little bit on the wonk. So let's bring this back in, and then I just need to neaten up. Oh, that's fine. I just need to neaten up that side there, and then I just need to neaten up that bit there. There we go, that's fine. So that's that, which can then go onto, did I not put a card blank in? Why didn't I put a card blank in? Right, let's bring, I'm just going to bring an 8x8 card blank in. I'm going to cut that to 5.5 by 7.5. So 5.5 by 7.5, and then that gives me my top fold at the top here. Let's bring back in my initial layer. So that can then go onto my black cardstock, onto here. So let's press that in and hold that down. So then what I'm going to do is, let's go back in with this layer. So I've got a piece of our heavyweight acetate, and that's then going to be stuck onto the back. And in actual fact, I don't even need all of that. I only need enough to cover the actual die cut. And I can't quite work out if this, yeah, I've not taken the backing off of this one. So our heavyweight acetate's got protective backing. I'm going to then go in with, for something like this, I'm going to use my red liner tape. So all that I am then just going to do is go around the surface area of the cut and emboss detail. So if we then work our way all the way round. So at the moment, unlike the foam on a roll, that we have to make sure that the corners are completely neat. Don't need to worry about that with my red liner tape. All that I need to do is make sure that I've got a good stick of it. So we can then peel that, and then that. And then what we can then do is then come in with that piece and stick that one on and press that down. So then now we've then got our acetate that's sandwiched all the way through those little aperture bits. And then what I can then do is I'm going to go in with my, I was looking for my foam on a roll there, so I'm going to go in my foam pad strips. So let's go, where are the, so let's bring the foam pad strips here. So either use your foam on a roll, or if you go for our small foam pad bundle, you'll know that you get these foam pad strips, which I just absolutely love. So when it comes to the backing of a shaker, this is where we need to make sure that all of these edges align. So I'm going to come right up and I'm going to butt that right up against the edge. And just to counterbalance the whole layer, I am just going to come all the way right down to the bottom. I'm going to come into here. So again, I'm just going to make sure that they're butt right up, and then we're going to come all the way down. And then let's go in with another one. And then this one, what we're going to do is we're going to block this top section off. So I'm just going to come along the bottom of that Star of Wonder, making sure that's pressed right against that edge. And we're going to do the same here. So I'm going to cut it right up against the edge and press that in. And then these extra little bits here, I'm just going to pad out along the bottom. So that's going to then, of course, balance it all out. So let's just go out and add that into here. And then what I'm also going to do is, just so that I can keep my shaker elements all within this one area, I'm just going to kind of block this section off, because I want all my, this isn't essential by the way, because we're still going to see all the shaker elements. I just think it works out quite good that if you block sections off, just to stop any of the shaker bits hiding. So it means now it's all going to be kept onto this back area. So what we then need to do is take all of these off here. Oh, have I just done that on the wrong side? Oh man, I have as well. I've just done that all on the wrong side. What a plum. Is that going to come off? No, right. Plan B. plan B, we need to do it again. So, what cardstock? Think, Craig. Think. What cardstock? I know where it was, I think. Let's have a look and see. Is it that one? I think it's that one. Just talking to myself. So when we talk about on Crafters TV how even we make mistakes, there you go. It just goes to show that we do make mistakes. It's just you don't tend to see them because we've done them while we've been prepping the demos. So let's do that again. So let's take my, so after me saying I'm not going to need that folder again, let's bring that folder back in. So let's cut that down to, let's just go back up so you can see. Never even noticed. You would think I would notice because it's not on the acetate side. So let's bring it back in and then let's run it through. So I will actually, I'll show you the cardstock that I use just so that you know. So we're going to come along and take the base cutting plate, metal shim top plate. That can then go through our Gemini. So for anyone that wants to know, it's our 12 by 12 cardstock that I was using. The glittering gold, and it's the pearlescent side that I'm using. So then if I bring this one out, at least I don't have to do all the layers again. So let's take that out. I'm going to sort all that later, and then we can come along and trim. So let's trim that. Have I still got that off piece of acetate? Is that going to do? No, I'll need to get another bit. So let's trim this to size, and then let me just zoom out. So we've got to do that one into here. That would be me too. Happens to us all. Thank you for the mess up. It made me feel so much better. Honestly, Trisha, it happens to us all. It absolutely does happen to us all. As I say, usually it happens while we're prepping. So therefore, we remember not to do it when we're live. So yeah, the amount of time that I've wasted having done something wrong. So yeah, if anything, I'm glad it makes you feel better to know that it does happen to us all. Now I'm just going to go into my box of delights at the side of me here just for some acetate. Which is here. I've got my acetate. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many times or how many mistakes can happen. So what we can then do is then, so we've got that one there, so let's go in there. So let's add that all the way around again. And here is me saying this one is quite a really simple one to do. So let's take that off into here. Then let's take that off, and then let's take these ones off here. And then this time what I'm going to do, just so that I don't waste any acetate, let me just take all that off. Just going to go onto the back. Just give each corner a scrape just till I know what side that I'm on. There we go. Take that off. So what I'm going to do is let's just pop my acetate just up to where my red liner tape is. And then I'm just going to trim. And of course I could just use my guillotine, but because I've got that leading edge with my cardstock, it makes it really quite simple to just cut along and follow. We're then just going to cut down, and we're just going to then cut down here. So I've still got all that I can use another time. And now what we can do, so Craig, pay attention. I need more strips though. Pay attention, Craig, and do it onto the right side. So onto your acetate side, we're going to go around with our foam strips or your foam on a roll. So I'm just going to take them to the side for now, and then we're just going to then take those ones off, run all that down, and we're just going to follow it all the way around. Each time we're just going to make sure each edge of our foam pads are butt right up against the edge. Let's block that section off here. And then what I'm just going to do is let's use some of these bits here just to counterbalance. So that can go along into there. And then, do you know what, I'm not even going to bother blocking that section off this time. You can just go straight in. And then you can use your sequins, you can use your glitters, anything like that. I've got like a little tub, it's a mix of little micro beads and that. So we need to then take the backing off first. So if I take all of that off, and then take all of that off, all of that off. Now this is just the way that I like to do shakers. I know there's like a few different ways, but this is the way that I like. So what I'm then going to do is, I know once that's flipped over, that's where my shaker elements needs to go. So I'm going to flatten out my cardstock. We're going to then take this element here, and then I'm just going to pop it all in. Now, because these are tiny little micro beads, they're going to roll all over. I just want to make sure that I've got a nice coverage. And then also at this point, it's key to make sure you've got no little bits that can get trapped underneath your foam pad. So if that's going to happen, that's going to create a blockage, which is then going to mean that there's more chance of it leaking. So then we can then come along, and then I'm just going to lightly press as I move and press that into position. Press all the way around, and then before you even attempt to lift it, do make sure that all the edges of the foam pads are nice and secure. And then you can see now we've got that shaker element back and forth through the Star of Wonder and through the little stars. You can see how that looks here. So then what we can do is let's come in with a little strip of cardstock. Now that gold layer was roughly 4 3/4. So I'm going to cut that 4 3/4, and then at the moment I'm just going to cut that to 1.5 inches at the moment. And then what I can then do is let's bring back in our stamping platform. Let's bring that back in here. And I am using the grids on my stamping platform. I'm going to kind of centralise it, 2, 4, 6. Because I want to make sure I get my sentiment bang centre in the middle. So let's take the same sentiment stamp collection, Bethlehem collection. And then I'm going to go wishing you a joyous Christmas. So that can then go into there, and in actual fact I'm just going to move it actually down, and then because once I've stamped it I'm going to then trim again. So I'm just want to get that straight as I can without sticking my head right in the way. Press that in. Let's go back in with our ink pad, just using my Noir Black alcohol proof once again. Turn it around, and then we're just going to then press. So press that. Perfect. Happy with that. Let's just give that a clean with my microfiber cloth. I've got my stamp cleaning solution, but something like that's just as quick with my cloth. Let's move that out the way, and then we're going to come back in with my guillotine here. Let me put that stamp back before I lose it. So that one can go into here, and then let's just trim. So that's going to come to, I'm going to say about, let's try 1 1/4 inches. No, let's do a little bit more. I'm going to do just after 1 inch. Yes, that's going to be absolutely fine. And then I need another bit of black cardstock. Let's bring a piece in. So for this, I'm going to keep the length exactly the same. So that's 4 3/4. So let me just make sure all these are lined up. So 4 3/4. And then what did I say that was? Just over 1 inch. So let's say just over 1 1/4. Line that one up. I want a little bit more shallow, so let's say 1 1/4. And line that one up. Perfect. Happy with that. So then let's bring in our glue. And then we can then line these up. Pop that in there. Lift that up. Give it a little move into place. And then once I'm happy, I can then press that down. And then once again, let's go in with my foam pads and create a little bit of lift. If I can get a hold of them. So this one, I'm going to pop into the center here. And I'm going to come just underneath. So I'm just going to come just over the tip of the Star of Wonder because I still want to see Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. So we're just going to come in to there, press that in, and then let's take our 2 Star of Wonders and let's do a drop shadow. So gold onto black. So utilising the waste from the centre, and then just use a little bit of black cardstock and run it through on the back of the Star of Wonder die within the folder. So you can still use the die components within your folders. That's then going to sit there, which means then we can come along with a foam pad and add some lift with that one. So let's take that and then that, and then the tiny little stars that we've got left that's come from there, what I'm then going to do, position that into there. Let's do one dot, 2 dot, 3 dot. Now I'm just going to go, I've just got like a little pickup tool here. And I'm just going to pick them up. 1, 2, And I just want the 3 of them. And that's it. That's all that I'm going to do with that card there. So that is embossing folder, cut and emboss folder, should I say, with that one. 5.5 by 7.5. Just run it through some of the gold pearlescent cardstock and then just sandwich some acetate with foam pad strips or foam on a roll, and then creating that lovely little shaker. And of course, depending on how big the aperture is, then that's... So let me start that one again. Obviously my aperture was just towards the card, so I've only had my acetate at the top there. So you're just going to make sure that your acetate and your foam pad strips cover the full back of the aperture. So there is another one. So there's your cut and emboss folder. So I'm going to set that one to the side, and then I'm pretty much nicely all tidied up. So that being said, I can move straight on to the next one. Oh, Jessica, you've got that one. Perfect. If you do recreate any of these ones, what to do is feel free to pop them in this group. Or if you pop them on your own social, feel free to tag me. Be good to see. Or maybe you're going to adapt them. Maybe you're not going to do them this exact way that I've done it. You're going to change it. That'll be good to see as well. Right, let's go in now with a folder that gives you stencils. Now, if I remember off the top of my head, I need Ocean Blue Water Reactive and Midnight. I love folders that have stencils with them. I think they're really, really cool. Now I know this Bundle of Joy. This is one, I'm not sure if everyone's got this one yet. I knew that was the way it happened. I'm not sure if everyone's got Bundle of Joy yet. Bundle of Joy is that one. So some of you have got them. I think the UK's got them from QVC. And I think maybe you guys stateside from HSN, that's going to be your next drop. I think. I might be completely wrong, but anyway, I'm using the elements from Bundle of Joy. So let's take that folder. I'm using a couple of little sentiments and a couple of the little dies as well. So we're going to go in with the die set. I really just want the little cloud, and then we've got the little banner. So for this one, I've got my cardstock here, and this is a lovely little 4 by, I think it's a bit of a taller card, 4 1/4 by 6.5, because I wanted to utilise the actual size of the folder. So what I've got is the folder, and then so the US has got Bundle of Joy, and I think it's a way to be dispatched for QVC UK customers, I think. Let's take, so that's my card blank. So we're going to go in with the white cardstock. Now for this one, I am just using white multi-purpose cardstock because predominantly this is just about the blend. Although I'm going to do a little bit of faux bleaching, there's not a lot of water going to be added to this. So therefore I want to keep this with the nice smoothness of the white multi-purpose. So we're going to take my layers here. Now this is another one where I'm actually going to keep my cardstock a little bit bigger than what I need, and that's just going to give me somewhere that I can attach my stencil to. So what I'm then going to do is let's just line that one up, and then we're going to do base plate and then top plate, but I do like to add my metal shim in. So we're going to add this one in, and then wrong camera, you don't want to see me, you want to see the Gemini. So we're just going to go in and emboss that. and come back in to here. And then what we've got is we've got that fab solid cloud effect. Really fab, love it, absolutely love it. So then what we can then do is we can bring in the stencil. So let's bring in the stencil that comes with it. Now, if you have our repositionable spray, you can use that. If you watch me, you know I'm not a big fan of anything like that when it comes to stencils. I don't like to have sticky residue stuck on the back of things. So therefore, I tend to use like a stencil tape. You can use your low tack tape if you want to. It's just I've got stencil tape and that's what I use just to then anchor it down. So anything with a stencil, whether it's with your folders, whether it's with glitter pastes, whatever it is, I always like to do one at the top first, which has given me sort of like a hinge. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to block off all four. Now the only thing, and I will be honest, the only thing with a delicate stencil and not using a repositional spray that holds it all down, you just need to be careful in the way that you apply the inks, because you don't want to really go around in a circular motion and then capture some of the actual layer of the stencil. So therefore you just need to be careful at this bit. So let's take my blending tools. So I've got Midnight and I've got Ocean Blue. These ones are our water reactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and to start with, and because they're clouds, I'm not necessarily overly eager to get a nice blend. So as you'll see, what I'm kind of doing as well is like a little bit of a stippling effect with our tool. So with our blending tool, just doing a little bit of a stippling effect and twisting. So I'm going down and twisting. It will help to smooth out the layers and blend it out, but because it's then a cloud, it gives us that faux kind of fluffy feel. So we're just going to go in with the Ocean Blue and then just going to go in and twist. You can, if you're careful and you're holding the actual stencil down with the base of the blending tool, you can blend round and round, but you just need to be careful. You don't want the edge to catch underneath. So we're just going to work our way in. So we've got a nice little layer. So I'm happy with that. So then I'm just going to keep going and I'm just going to keep blending in what I've already got now. So I'm just going to work that round and round. Keep working that round. Not concerned that I've got any of kind of these blending tool marks. It's really, once we've added a little bit of water, we're not going to see them. And then I'm going to go in with the Midnight. I'm going to take some of that excess off, because what I'm wanting to do is I want to kind of come along just underneath some of these little clouds. See, this is what I mean about being careful when you blend if you're not using one of the repositionable sprays, because if you capture it with the edge of your blending tool, it can lift. So I'm just going to go and then just position that back into place and then hold that down, hold that in, and then hold that in. So just being careful now, and then I'm just going to kind of then blend that out. So we're just going to blend that out a little bit, take some of that excess blue off, and we're just going to come along underneath, work our way in, underneath. See, I've done it again. So I'm just going to tape that corner down and hold it down. Don't worry, I don't need to worry about this excess because I'm going to then just be chopping that off. The stencil's really there just to leverage it down. So once I've got to the point that I'm at, which I'm happy with that now, I'm just going to take all these layers off, take that off, and move that out of the way. What quite a dramatic looking sky that we've got there, isn't it? Quite dramatic. So I'm going to go in with that wipe that I had earlier on. Let's just give my stencil a clean while I'm here. Take that excess off. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take, let's dry that off as well. I'm just going to come along, and before I trim all of that, I'm going to come along with either, you can use your water spritzer, or what I do, because I use mine quite a lot, I've got an old cleaning solution spritz bottle, cleaned it out really, really well, and then now all that's inside is just water. So you can either spritz direct on, or irrelevant of the tool or a larger water spritzer, what I like to do is just spritz into my hand and then flick. So I'm not doing a lot, so that's why I'm not overly concerned about this being smooth cardstock and not a watercolour cardstock, because there's not going to be much to it. It's not going to then start to seep in too much because I'm not going to let it. I am just going to let that sit just for a short while. I say short while, just very short. I'm just going to pop these back in its packaging, let it do its thing, let it start to do its full bleaching effect, make it do its magic. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with either microfiber cloth or kitchen towel or something like that, paper towel, which I've got here. I'm just going to layer that over the top, so it's just going to pick up any excess liquid. And then hold that down. So then we're just going to press, and then we've got that subtle faux bleach raindrop effect in the background. So that's all that I was wanting to achieve. So then what we can do is let's trim it. So I'm just going to trim right up against the edges, and then get right into here. So that is 3 3/4. I'm going to trim right up at the cloud, which is 5 3/4. And then that's our beautiful effect. So let's go in with a piece of light blue linen. So 3 3/4 to 4 3/4. And then that is 5. So let's trim to 6. Let's give myself a really nice matting layer. Just need to trim that ever so slightly. And then I'm going to go for a deeper blue. I think these are from, I want to say, our Daisy collection, these blues. I'm usually really good at writing down what I've used and where it's from. Clearly not with these ones. So trim a little bit to there. That's going to give me a nice, strong, but thin, deep blue matting layer, which that's going to go into there, which is looking fab, the way that I'm wanting it to look. Then what we're going to do is then take some, let's take some white cardstock. So we're going to take, I'm just using what was the excess off my card blank, my 8x8 card blank that I chopped down earlier, because that's a white smooth. So we're going to take the cloud dies. So we've got 1 and 2. So let's take the cloud dies, And then we're also going to take from the banner set, Celebrate Banner. We're going to take this one, and then we're going to cut the banner as well. So let's tape these ones, and because they can, I'm just going to use the mini for this. If you don't have the mini, you've only got the G2, then you can just do the pause and reverse feature. So we're going to run that one through, and that's what I needed to do. Have I got enough deep blue there? Oh, look at that. That was meant to be. That was meant to be. So I want another one in deep blue, because then that can be my drop shadow. Let's move that one out the way there. So I've got a large cloud, and then I've got a small cloud. So I want another large and small, because I want, what I'm going to go for is a large and two small at the top corner, and then a large and another two small, or no. So the top corner, I'm going to do two large clouds and a small one. And then in the bottom corner, I'm going to do what will be two small and one large. And run that one through. And we're just going to keep these naturally white. And this is, as I said a moment ago, this is our white multi-purpose. So this could easily be maybe watercolour card to give you that bit of texture. It could be linen cardstock to also give you that little bit of texture. You can use them. But for the sake of this one, it's just a lovely white smooth cardstock. So that's these ones done. So I just need to go in with my banner, and I need to go in with my sentiment. So let's come back in with our trusty stamping platform. And then we're going to take the banner. I'm just going to use my two discs. Let's go in with a new arrival. And that we can position into there. Press that in. I'm going to go back in with my black. Ink that up. Turn it around. Press it in. Perfect. So that's that one. Let's move that out the way and that out the way. There's one other thing that I'm going to do with that stamped new arrival. I'm going to take my ice grey 2, and I know some of you will have seen me do this on many occasions, certainly around stamped images or stamped characters or stamped designs, but I do like to do this on little sentiments as well, and that's just going round with my ice grey 2. So I'm using my classics, but it could be of course your tri-blend if you want. And I'm just going to go in with your little bullet nib with the ice grey 2, and all that I'm simply doing is just drawing around. Creates kind of like a natural little drop shadow. And with the ice grey, it does get a little bit lighter, as all the colours do with them being alcohol based. A little bit lighter once it's dried. But that's it. As quick as that. Don't need to spend lots of time on them. So then what I'm going to do is let's bring in, actually let's layer this one up first. So I'm going to use my tacky glue into here. And then we're going to do our drop shadow. So do the drop shadow with the blue. And then while I'm here, let's go in with our foam pads and add that on to the back to even it out, like so. And then when it comes to my cloud, so said in the top left hand corner, I'm going to have two large and one small, and then in the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to have one large and two small. So what we can do is on the small ones, I'm going to add a foam pad to the 3 small ones. And then when it comes to the larger ones, we're going to keep these nice and flat. So let's pop that on there. Pop that on there. And then let's just set that to the side for now. We're going to come in with our layers. So I'm just going to add my glue around the back here. Layer up onto my light blue. Get that into position and hold that down. We're just going to go and add all of that all the way around onto the deep blue. That's giving me my deep blue with my really fine matting layer. And then that can then go onto my card blank. So we're going to set that one into there and then press. Hold that for a second, take the back off. Now this layer, because I've not heat set it with my heat gun or let it to dry naturally, it's still a bit, not tacky as in sticky, but it's still a little bit wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my, because I've been using that baby wipe that I've used, I've just had my glue sitting in it. So let's take just a couple of little dots, and then that one can go into the middle. Press that in there. And then I just want to eyeball these ones just roughly. Yeah. So let's go in with our glue, with our foam pad. Let me get rid of that baby wipe so it stops sticking inside it. We're going to hold that down. Then the next larger one, what I'm going to do is we're going to keep that one flat again, but I'm going to kind of just overlap that larger cloud. Press that in, and then within this one here, we're just going to do the same again. Let's just do a tiny little dot of glue. That one can then overlap onto there. And then let's do the same down at the bottom. So our larger cloud can go flat. And then we can then take our 2 clouds. That one, we're going to go there. And then that one, we are going to go into there. Line that one up. And then there we go. There's our 4th one that we've done, which is our stencil and our folder, with our stencil. And we've just done a little bit of blending, a little bit of faux bleaching effect. And in actual fact, for many of you, it's a 2 for 1, because then you've got a demonstration on how to use a folder with the stencil, and then you've got a demo when it comes to the bundle of joy. So you've got your little 4x6 card with the ocean blue and also the midnight water reactive that you can see within these ones there. That's really, really pretty one. And then if you've seen me on Crafters TV yesterday, I showed you how you can then easily expand a larger card. So if you wanted to, let's just say, for argument's sake, have I got some blue? I do. So let's say, for instance, say you wanted to take, now ignore that, I've been playing with my Cricut machine. That pattern paper, that gingham pattern paper, what we could have done is that can then be matte and layered on to 2 shades of blue. Then that can then perfectly fit on a 5x7 card. Not 5x7, A5 card. So we're able to go from 4x6 and then expand that to be a little bit larger. But you can see, there we go. You've got your little 4x6, exactly 4x6, 4¼ by 6.5 that you can see here. So there we go. That is our next one. And then all that we need to do is our final one. What's that? Gosh, 2 hours already. Did say I am sticking with you till we've done them all. Let me put these ink pads back. And can I just actually say, one thing, wherever I do my lives, the one thing I don't really do is focus on numbers, because it's always lovely to have lots of you watching, but I don't really, and I mean this in a respectful way, I don't really care if 100 people are watching me or 5 people are watching me. I do these lives because I enjoy doing them, you know, to lots of you or just a smaller number of you. And I have actually seen the numbers that are still watching, and you've all pretty much stuck with me over the last couple of hours. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, because I know it's still a good couple of hours. Now, you're maybe doing things while you're watching, or maybe you're just listening, but still, I appreciate you sticking with me over the couple of hours. It does mean a lot. But I enjoy doing them, that's the main thing. And I certainly enjoy doing them in this group as well, because it makes that a little bit more special. So that being said, and I'm doing really well, really quite nice and tidy still. So all that we need to do is bring in my last one. And in some ways, what I'm away to do within this one, I kind of covered in the end with the first one, which was the silver gilding waxes. Because obviously I never intended to do the silver gilding wax at the start. That was kind of a last minute thought that I had. But we're still going to do it anyway. And this one is with the folders, 3D folders with the actual nesting dies. So this is one, certainly 2D, 3D, cut and emboss. I would say these three are kind of our 3 key embossing folders within our ranges. We've done a few as of late, embossing folders with stencils, so they're still quite an imperative part of the range. Embossing folders with nesting dies is not something we really do a lot, so you know, some of you might not actually think or consider them as part of our folder range. However, we do have them within our range. So because this is all about the embossing folders, that's why I thought we'll still cover it within this live. So let's do it. Glad that you're liking that card, Sam. Evelyn saying cute card. Thank you, Evelyn. Angela saying looks really good. Oh, bless you, Sam. Saying could watch it all day. Evelyn saying I love to watch you. I've been working on flower forming. And Lillian is saying thank you, Craig. Well, once again, thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate your thanks. But thank you as well. It really does mean a lot. So, last one. And it is coming from the Hello die, which is my favourite die. We'll have to end with my favourite die from last year's advent calendar. So that's what we're going to do within this one here. So this one is the same. It is your embossing folders with your nesting dies. So we can dive in and then just have a look and see. Laurie, love your dedication to the groups and sharing your expertise using the Gemini and CC products. Thank you, Laurie. It's really, really kind of you to say. Means the world. So we're going to go in with Regal Rectangle here. So let's take this folder out. Now with this one, there was four within the range. Yeah, there was circle, oval, rectangle and square, wasn't there? So this is the one with the rectangle. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making this one. Now again, another lovely smaller card, which is 6.5 by 4.5. So let's take all my little layers now. So I've got my black cardstock, so let's go in with the embossing. So we're going to go and get that ready. Let's bring in our guillotine here. And I'm just going to trim this down. So the actual folder is 4 by 6. So for this one, I am actually going to cut it bang on 4 by 6. Let me check. Yes, I do. Cutting it exactly 4x6 for this one. So what we can then do again. Now this one, I don't need to worry about die cutting first because we're die cutting after. So let's just make sure we're nicely lined up and positioned, which we are. So 3D embossing folder, base cutting plate, and then we need our magnetic and then our frosted shim. So we then are just going to then feed that one through. We'll let that do its thing, and then I'm just going to lean over, excuse me, and then take my silver gilding wax and open this one up. And this really is an absolutely beautiful design. Try to see if I can get any little light on it, but not quite. So let's go in with our actual card. Just want to make sure, was that the size of my original one? No, I need to trim that a little bit from the edge here. I'm just going to come trim just a slither to 5 3/4. I just want to make sure it's like my original, which it is. So what we can do with this one now, although I did kind of already go over it within that first demonstration, but let's do it again here. So I'm going to go in with my silver gilding wax. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Now gilding waxes on 3D embossing folders, these really do look spectacular because you've got so much depth when it comes to the design. So what we can then do is go in, and for this one what I'm doing to start with is I'm just going to go over the embossed design to start with, so that framework. So we're just going to work our way around and then work in that rectangle regal work. So I always like to get a layer on that I'm happy with, and then I come along and then I start to enhance that. So what I mean by that, I am kind of, well I'm happy with that as it stands. So let's just have a little look now and then start to add all that on, and then we're just going to then keep working that all the way around. So we're just going to then keep going and add in, because this is 3D, so I really do want a lot of depth to the design that I'm going over with the silver. So getting my initial layer on that I'm happy with, and then come along and then just add to it to make it really regal and stand out. I'm not worrying about all this inner part because we're not really going to see it. What I am just going to do is I am just going to rub my finger on, just get a little bit of excess wax just over that inner edge there, just so if any of that was to be seen, you've got that little bit of silver. And then also what I'm going to do with just a little bit of the excess, I'm just going to like blend with my finger, starting on my glass mat and then blending on. So I'm just going to work my way round, and I'm really just trying to use what excess that I've already got, because I don't want to go on with like a fresh finger selection of wax and then make that really quite heavy and strong when I don't want it. So I am just really using the excess that I've got just to blend all the way round. And then I'm just going to go in once again just with my finger and just kind of then work it in, blend and buff with my finger until I'm happy with that, which gosh, why my guillotine is still in one piece with the amount of times I knock it. So I can see I've got that Oh, I just love it. I just think it's absolutely fab. But what I'm then just going to do is my dirty microfiber cloth. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a buff afterwards. It doesn't need to be a microfiber cloth, a little old cloth or something like that, just to give it a little bit of a buff. And then we can see that beautiful framework, that regal rectangle. So let's set that to the side. Now for these ones, what we're going to do is let's use our Gemini. So let's take my layers. I want to put a bit of black. Here was me prepping it all, thinking I had done all the bits that I want. So within that initial, that first layer that's going to go down first, what I'm going to do is I'm then just going to come along and I'm going to do that in black, because I want to have, and you'll see what I mean just shortly, I want to have that black look with that regal silver feel, and then you're going to have a striking black matte layer underneath. So that's why I'm still going to go in with a black first. So let's tape this one down. And, you know, I'm just using all of the dies. You don't have to. You can use a select few if you want to. You can then, you can do additional little framework if you want to. You don't have to use all of them. So there's our first one. Our next one, I'm going to go in. I've got some of, I think this is a Hunky Dory Mirror card. It's a pink one. So I've got that one. And I'm going to go in with the next layer down and just secure that one on there. Then our next layer down, I've got a little bit of white cardstock here. No, that's going to be for a matte layer. I don't want to use that just now. Let's just go in with that bit of scrap that I had. Not with that glue on. So that can go on into there. So let's find the end of my tape. That can then go on into there. And then we're going to finish off this top layer. We're going to go back in with this pink. But we've then chopped that off. That can go on into there. And let's find the end again. I'm getting frustrated with this washi tape because it's a pattern. It's hard to find the actual end. So that can then go into there. And then what we can do is, while I'm here, let's do the hello die. Wherever it's gone. Here we go. So the hello shock horror drop shadow. So let's take a piece of white card. So that can hopefully just fit onto there and no more. So then I need my frosted, my magnetic, and then top plate. We're going to then feed that one through our Gemini, let that do its thing. That's going to cut all the layers. And then what we can then take, before we take any of that, let's bring in our guillotine. So we'll come back to those just in a moment. But what we can then do is let's do our mats and layers. So I really want to make a striking layer. So let's do a white matte layer. So that's 5 3/4. So let's do 6 inches by, so that's 4. So let's go 4 1/4. And then let's line that up. So I actually just need to come in just a tad little bit more. So the white is going to really, really beautifully counterbalance the black. And then because that's 6, let's go 6 1/4 with this pink mirror card. and that can go just under 4.5. So that's nice and perfect as well. I just want to give that a little trim, that little trim. Perfect. Now just need to go in with that one. Right, so that's that. So that can go underneath there. Let's assemble these ones before we bring in the other layers. So let's go white onto silver first. Silver, white onto pink. So we're going to line that up because I've got a funny feeling I might just need to adjust my layer ever so slightly. I think either the pink or the white is a little bit on the wonk. So we need to neaten that up. So let's press that in. So let's just, I think that one is fine. And we need to level that one up. And level that one up. There we go. That's it. Sorted. So that one can now go onto our card blank. So if I bring my card blank in to here, which the card blank is 6.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to pop that one onto there and just start to line that up. Hold that down, and then we're going to come in with our, I keep going to say Gildan Flakes, Gildan Wax. So that one, we're going to go all the way around, like so, and pop that one in to there, and hold that down. So then there's the basis of our layer, and then we're just going to bring these in. So let's take all of these. So we're going to go black first, which just neatens up that centre. We are then going to do the pink, we're then going to do the white, and then the pink again. Now one of these layers we're going to lift on foam pads, but what I do also need is one other layer of the hello, and I need that in black. So let's take that one and then that one, and then for speed let's just use our mini once again. Run that one through. Sandra, thanks Craig, I agree with Laurie, lovely evening, enjoy your break at Scotland. I totally agree with Laurie, thank you Sandra, listening to you reminds me of home. Yeah, so I am, well, technically tomorrow is still a working day for me, however I'm taking tomorrow as my day off for the week, and then Thursday I'm going to Scotland for a few days because it's my friend's little one's first birthday on Thursday actually. We're going home for a few days to see them, but then also to see my family and that as well. And then I'm going to be back either late Sunday night or very early Sunday morning. Late Sunday night or very early Monday morning, because I'm on Crafters TV all day Monday next week. But yeah, looking forward to going home for a few days, seeing everyone, seeing Clemmy the doggy, for those that don't know who Clemmy is. See her, get lots of cuddles from her. So yeah, it'll be lovely, it'll be nice. So let's pop that one on flat. So I've popped the pink onto the black, and we're popping them on flat. And then that can go into the middle just here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pink onto the white, and then on the back of this one, what I'm going to do is pop a foam pad onto the back there, and then that one can go into there like so. And then with the hello, and this is absolutely optional, you don't need to do this of course, but I'm just going to go in with some of my smaller foam pads and just trim them down just a little bit finer, and I'm going to pop that onto the back of the hello there. I'm just going to trim that bit there into the corner like so, and then we can take these off. So if I peel that off, and then that one off, that one can then go nicely into the middle like so. And then what I am going to do, I've got these tiny little pink gems. They really are tiny. So I'm going to take my glue. Now they are self-adhesive, but I still always pop a little bit of tacky glue onto the back. So let's do 1, 2 and 3. So that can go there, and then that can go there. So let's just move that into position. We're then going to take the next 3, 1, 2 and then 3, and let's just move them into position like so. And then what I'm then going to do is I'm just going to have a look at some of the design layouts. I'm going to do 1 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot. And even although these are tiny little gems, they're just going to finish off the card just nicely. Of course the tacky glue will dry clear, so at the moment you get that little bit of the hazy residue just sticking out the edge of the gems, but that'll dry clear. Keeps sticking to my finger, so let's move that in, and then move that one into here. So I can go a little bit further, and so that's that one. And then I'm going to go dot, dot, and dot, 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 and then dot. Put the gems on there, and then that will be the final one of the 5 embossing folders. So dot. It's the only thing with having glue stuck on my finger, the gem keeps sticking to them. So nice and subtle. And although you've got the 3D layer, where's that jump to? Although you've got the 3D layer from the emboss detail, and then you've got that textile layer, not only from the emboss detail, but also from the mats and layers within the middle, as well as the sentiment, you're going to get that lovely touch of the little gems. And then there we go. There it is. Done with a little pink little glisten from the little gems there that you can see within that one there. So another pretty little card. Well, I think it is a pretty little card. Really pleased with that one. Just gone round with a gilding wax within that 3D embossing design. So I've kind of kept them all relatively small, apart from the Vintage Rose, which is a bit larger. But we've gone in for the 5 of them. So let's have a little recap as to all of them. So the first one that we done was our... Oh, excuse me. The first one that we done was our 2D embossing folder. And I did use the Gilded Wax, which wasn't intentional to start with. That was just as an extra as we went live. But 2D embossing folder where we cut a little aperture. Then we done a 3D embossing folder where we've done a letterpress technique with the fuchsia water reactive ink. You can see within that one there. We've then also used the cut and emboss folder. So showed you how you can then create a separation and use a cut and emboss folder as a shaker element. You can see there, that one from Bethlehem collection. So just to say again, so that was from Halloween last year. That was from Vintage Rose. That one's from Bethlehem, cut and emboss folder. Then Bundle of Joy, which I think most of you do actually have by reading what you're saying in the comments. You've got your embossing folder with the stencil. We've done the Ocean Blue and the Midnight. And that was from Bundle of Joy box from the Gemini Club. A little bit of faux bleaching effect. And then last but by no means least, we've used our 3D embossing folder with nesting dies. Just went around with some of the Gilded Wax, layered up with the nesting dies that you get included. And then we've finished off with some little gems. So I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope you like them. I hope you love that little look and that little explanation, as well as additional detail when it comes to the embossing folders. Thank you so much. Laurie saying looking amazing. Karen saying gorgeous card, Craig. Jessica is saying stunning. Evelyn saying wow. Sam saying stunning. Carletta is saying lovely card, Craig. Tricia saying amazing. Lynn saying beautiful. Lillian saying think it is too. I think I can imagine that. Sandra Big saying love all your cards, but this is my favourite one. We'll always have a favourite no matter what. Whatever it is that we do or we make or anything like that, we always have our favourites, don't we? I think maybe the cut and emboss folder, the Bethlehem, I think that might be mine, or the Bundle of Joy. But yeah, all got our favourites. Karen saying the techniques are amazing. Thank you. And that was the main thing. As I said at the start, I just didn't want to come along with 5 different folders, run them through with a piece of cardstock and say, this is 2D, this is 3D, this is cut and emboss, blah, 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 blah. I want to have a purpose within each of them. So I know it's obviously a little bit longer than we'd usually spend on a live within this group, but I thought it was beneficial for sure when it comes to the Gemini Club. So thank you so much. As always, feel free to replicate them, feel free to change them, whatever you want, absolutely feel free. It's what it's all about when it comes to the inspiration. And yeah, I'm more than welcome to give me a tag if you want to. You don't have to, but by all means, please do so when it comes to posting them, whether it's in the group or on your own pages. It's always lovely to see. So that is, what's that, about 20 to 11 here in the UK, and I am absolutely roasting still. My window's been open. It's probably you've heard dogs barking, cars going past, everything like that, and it is absolutely roasting. Doesn't help though that I've got all of these lights and the heat from the plugs and everything like that. But I'm away to head downstairs. I'm going to have a little cup of tea and then I am going to go to bed. That's going to be my plan. I'm going to watch one of my favourite shows, award shows, the NTAs, National Television Awards were tonight here in the UK. So I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and watch some of that, see how that is gone. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Kendall. Love all the cards using the older dies and embossing folders. Thank you. And that's it. Once again, you know, the only reason to each folder was it done something. You know, it wasn't because it's from a new collection or anything like that. I brought in whatever I could do to show off each of the folders. Faye saying thank you so much, Craig. You're very welcome. Jessica saying thank you for tutorials. I like getting hints, tips for the inspiration. You're more than welcome. Evelyn saying thank you for spending your evening. Thank you for spending your evening with me as well. Trisha saying I appreciate you, and I appreciate you too. Pauline saying thank you. Have a good few days away. I will do. Angela saying thank you. Very inspirational. And Laurie Barnett saying thanks, Craig. Hugs to you too as well. Yes, no doubt you will see photos on. I know I was on annual leave last week, and I kind of had a little bit of a break from everything, even social media last week, kind of. That won't be the case this weekend, so no doubt you'll see lots of pictures of Clemmy and everything like that on my Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, it's going to be lovely. Right, until next month, have a lovely rest of the day for you guys at stateside here in the UK. Well, you've just got about an hour and 20 minutes before the new day is dawning. So have a lovely day, have a lovely rest of the week. And if I don't see you beforehand, I'll see you on Monday on Crafters TV. Hardly been on, and then I'm on Monday, I'm on Tuesday, I'm QVC Extra Wednesday, I'm in Thursday, I'm in Friday, so you're never going to get rid of me. Anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.